Do you think that samurai warriors no longer exist? You might reconsider after watching this, as we will show you the new era samurai who follows the Bushido principles and sets the UFC on fire. Enter Jiri Prochazka, arguably the most brutal finisher the MMA world has ever seen, with 29 victories, including 28 finishes by brutality, and only one going to the judges' score. Denisa has shown the world that he is not in the sport to take prisoners. As we eagerly anticipate his return for UFC 300, it's the perfect time to recall the 5 times Jiri Prochazka absolutely destroyed his opponents. And if you guys enjoy this video, please subscribe and be the force behind our push to 10,000 subscribers. Let's do this. 5 versus CB Dollaway. New Year's Eve 2019, Jiri Prochazka was scheduled to face CB Dollaway, a BJJ black belt and a UFC veteran for 10 years. The American was almost a decade older than Jiri and was determined to snatch the Rizin Light Heavyweight belt. However, the young buck had a different plan that night. The Czech fighter took to the center of the ring, indicating that he would be the aggressor. Dollaway used that opportunity to try his new Adidas shoes in action. Jiri kept his composure and stalked his victim like Jeffrey Dahmer, ready to strike at any moment. After another low kick, Prochazka capitalized on the moment by taking the opponent to the canvas, but controlling an NCAA Division I wrestler on the canvas was not easy. The American landed another powerful leg kick, which only angered Denisa, who was steering his victim into an ambush. He then pulled the trigger and landed a textbook uppercut, followed by a vicious left hook that made the poor fella bounce the canvas like a rubber ball. No follow-up shots were required, as CB Dollaway was already looking at the ceiling, semi-conscious. Number 4 versus Muhammed Lawal. Let's go back a few months and see how Denisa won the Rizin belt in the first place. On April 12, 2019, the Czech samurai was matched for a rematch against Muhammed Lawal, a wrestling powerhouse with notable victories over elites like Jigard Mousasi, Sheik Congo, and Rampage Jackson. Now these two met 4 years prior, and Lawal had the last laugh. The thing was, Jiri had 10 exhausting minutes of fighting Fedor's prodigy, Vadim Nemkov, and he was supposed to fight Muhammed Lawal only a few hours away, and obviously that fight didn't go his way. However, this time, Prochazka had the luxury of taking his time and having a full preparation camp. The Czech samurai had a careful approach, respecting Lawal's power on the feet. However, as the round progressed, he decided to come out of his shell and land some nice combinations. For some weird reason, the wrestler decided to stand and bang with Jiri, refusing to take the fight to his own domain. Mo finally decided to go for a takedown, but Prochazka was ready for it. He returned with fire, forcing the American to retreat against the ropes. The young prospect was slowly but surely picking the wall on the feet, as it was evident that this fight would be nothing like the first time they met. Sure enough, the crowning moment arrived in the third, when Jiri launched ballistic missiles at Mo's head, who was already tired and beaten up. The referee had no other choice but to save Lawal to fight another day, and just like that, Jiri Prochazka was the new Rizin Light Heavyweight champion. 3 versus Fabio Maldonado. Fabio Maldonado is the kind of fighter who would run over you if you underestimated him. Little does anyone know that his striking is as deadly as an AK-47 rifle shot, and he has 36 bouts as a professional boxer. Don't believe me? Just ask Fedor Emelianenko, who was on the brink of defeat since he went overconfidently against him and almost paid the ultimate price for it. Well, the Czech fighter knew the danger, so he kept the adversary at bay, tagging him with shots from a distance while avoiding getting punched. The reckless Jiri decided to challenge the boxer in his own game and landed a perfect picture boxing combo that forced him to seek refuge in the corner. Prochazka smelled blood and went after the wounded animal for the kill. If history has taught us anything, it is that a wounded animal is the most dangerous one. Try telling that to Jiri. He waited for a moment and then unleashed his torpedoes that dropped the aging Brazilian to the floor. The referee jumped in for rescue to spare Maldonado from spending the night in an emergency room. 2 versus Volkan Oezdemir. After bulldozing through 26 opponents, it was time to navigate the uncharted waters of the UFC. When the big league called, there were no second thoughts. Jiri's UFC debut wasn't a walk in the park, as he was matched to lock horns with Volkan Oezdemir, a seasoned vet with dynamite in his hands and a former title challenger. Volkan took the center of the octagon, eager to welcome the newcomer to the organization and show him the different levels of this game. And just like that, Jiri jumped headfirst into a battle without a bulletproof vest and a helmet. Whether he was channeling his chakra or something else, the Czech samurai put his guard down and received 2 big straights that dropped him momentarily. He regained his composure and retaliated with bombs to the head. Just the confidence level Jiri showed by keeping his hands down is truly remarkable, or foolish. Oezdemir showed him why you don't play with fire by punching his head a couple of times. Jiri initiated a brawl, and just like that, an all-out war broke out. The Swiss fighter was discouraged from keeping the fight standing, so he turned into a wrestler, ending the round in the clinch. The real action arrived in the second round, as Prochazka opened the hunting season with a high head kick that stumbled the foe. The Czech samurai seized the opportunity and unleashed rockets that were landing clean. The whole affair lasted 49 seconds into the second round, and the deal was sealed legally by a textbook 1-2 combo that sent Oezdemir to oblivion. A statement was made. The UFC light heavyweight division's got a new sheriff in town, who was also granted his first performance of the night bonus. Honorable mention versus Satoshi Ishii. Satoshi Ishii is an Olympic-level judo black belt and a battle-tested vet who's been in the sport since 2009. In the fight against Denisa, Ishii had nothing on the feet for the younger opponent, who went after him like a man possessed. Only a minute into the fight, Prochazka reminded the world why keeping the fight standing against him is a no-no rule, as he crow-copped the Japanese fighter with a high kick. The subsequent knees to the head were brutal, and the referee had seen enough. Versus Martin Salt. Back in his younger days, Jiri Prochazka was already a force to be reckoned with within the MMA world. In a bout against Martin Salt, Jiri showcased his explosive skills by going airborne with a knee that knocked his opponent into the shadow realm. It was one of those jaw-dropping moments that hinted at Jiri's future greatness in the UFC. This daring move and the spectacular win were early signs that one day, Jiri Prochazka would undoubtedly snatch the coveted UFC belt. Versus Glover Teixeira. In the title fight against Glover Teixeira and a Fight of the Year candidate, Jiri Prochazka and Glover both showed they were warriors who wouldn't back down. It was a slugfest where Glover had the advantage on the ground, attempting submissions, but Jiri, employing the samurai spirit, refused to give up. In the closing seconds of the fifth round, when everyone thought the fight might go to a decision, Jiri did the unthinkable. He managed to secure a rear naked choke, depriving the Brazilian champion of oxygen. 1 versus Dominick Reyes. After dispatching Volkan Oezdemir to a different dimension, the Czech samurai was locked in the cage with Dominick Reyes, a former title challenger who gave John Jones the toughest fight of his career, which many thought he lost. Reyes was working Jiri's legs and torso diligently, but the Czech fighter didn't even flinch. He followed up with a nice left that was a wake-up call for Prochazka. He returned the favor and retaliated with an anti-tank missile that made him back up a few steps. Feeling Jiri's power, Dominick decided to take the fight to the ground, which is also not his forte. When they returned to their feet, Prochazka had something in store for the American and rained with bombs on the opposition. Reyes did not shine away from the brawl and jumped headfirst into a slugfest. Now, Jiri was the aggressor, and Reyes was returning with counterstrikes. The Czech samurai decided to play Russian roulette with the powerful striker, and they kept exchanging dynamites at close range. Prochazka did not leave the American off the hook, giving him no space to breathe for the rest of the round, and that was only an overture to what was about to come in the second round. As the round progressed, Jiri initiated a zombie-style massacre, and he got it. He turned into a wrestler almost caught in a guillotine. Somehow Jiri survived that and returned the battle on the feet, where he was determined to end the show right there. He went after Reyes with an elbow, followed by another spinning elbow from hell, which sent the American straight to La La Land. If this wasn't a knockout of the year candidate, I don't know what else is. This legendary battle earned Jiri both Performance of the Night and Fight of the Night bonuses, and nobody could dispute that. Despite a recent setback in his bout against Alex Pereira, there's no doubt that Jiri Prochazka is destined to reclaim the UFC belt. Even in defeat, Jiri's resilience and fighting spirit were evident, showcasing his ability to bounce back. Remember, every great fighter faces challenges, and Jiri's determination, combined with his impressive track record and the heart he displays in every match, is a clear indication that he'll rise again. So don't count him out just yet. The modern-day samurai is sure to make a triumphant return and continue his journey towards UFC glory. Thank you for tuning in, fight fans. We can't wait to see you in the next one.